Hey, welcome to the Courage and FS show. This is episode 4. Again, we don't know what this is titled. We'll figure it out at the end. And as a disclaimer, this is all pointless. We're just talking about our lives and we're having fun. And if you're listening, we hope you're having fun. But if you're not, it doesn't matter to us anyway. So, Courage, welcome back. And what are we on about now? अब ये बंदे की क्या मसला है?
बस सुनाए यार दुनिया में क्या हालात हैं क्या चल रहा है आप सुनाए क्योंकि आपकी जिंदगी में तो हर 3 महीने कहानी बदलते रहती है और नए वाकयात होते रहते हैं तो आप बताएं क्या नई ताज़ी है क्या क्या हालात हैं
यार क्या बताओ सिर्फ गम ही गम है और कहानी अब बदल ही ना रहा है और ये भी बात है कि मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है कि हमारी ज़िंदगी की राइटिंग टीम कौन सी है मगर मुझे लगता है कि उसे ज़रूर स्ट्राइक पर जाना होगा कि हमारे इतने अच्छे तो कहानी तो बन रहा है और काफ़ी अरसे से बन रहा है मगर इसकी एंडिंग ही नहीं नज़र आ रहा है और मुझे ये भी समझ नहीं आ रहा है कि क्यों बंदे इतने काम कर रहे हैं लाइक in the past 1 week whatever's happened to me has been way more eventful than most people's entire lives and I don't understand why like मेरी ज़िंदगी और actually the two of our lives हमारी ज़िंदगी तो टीवी शो बनने में सिर्फ कैमरे की ज़रूरत है बाकी सब तो है
कोई शक नहीं bro in fact you know Workaholics
Oh, dude. Workaholics is, to be honest, it's one of my favorite shows, but it's also a show that has no equal. You know, like uski koi, like that's not a box you can put it into. But it's a wonderful show.
Yeah, but no, for sure, man. You know, the reason I bring it up is because what you described, like just put a camera and record our lives.
Right.
That's exactly what those guys did when they made the show. Like their idea was just to kind of record the shenanigans they do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like they'd be doing the same things that they did anyway, and except they would like record it, you know. And they that's how they kind of got started. Like, you know, they made many episodes doing that, like just recording their everyday lives.
Mm-hmm.
And when they finished one whole episode, they pitched it to Comedy Central, and then they proved it. They're like, wow, this is actually like really entertaining, you know. And really, all that they were doing is like recording their everydays.
Dude, so when are you going to Comedy Central? But
I that'd be something, man. Like, I've always thought about this. Like, for me, I'm pretty sure, man, if we did something, like, creatively and, like, put it out there, it would, like, be very successful.
Right.
The only thing is, man, like, for me, like, fame, I've never really seen it as a good thing. For me, it's always been more of a curse than a blessing, you know?
Dude, I know that you know this कि हमारे एक ही सोच होता है, but I have felt the exact same thing because again, even though we're both being really unsufferable in terms of how much we believe in ourselves, right? I do believe that anything we do will be something worthy of artistic praise. And at the same time, I agree with you. Like, there is nothing in my life that I value as much as anonymity. You know, I am free to be whoever I want to be. And I can do anything that I want to. I can go out wherever I want to, and I cannot be noticed. And fame, the way you mentioned it, वैसे हमारे like Virat Kohli has said this. Like, one of the things that annoys him the most is that he can't go out anywhere. And he sees it as a huge boon. And I agree with this. Like, if you have to go to London with your wife to take a stroll out, right? That is definitely a lower quality of life. It doesn't matter what it brings you. And I think we have this, like, idea because we have like kind of, I don't, again, I hate how pompous we sound, but to anybody who's listening, this is all true. Like we're not humble, but we're also not lying. So we have been kind of we have been kind of popular, and we know what it feels like जो भी गम की मारे है, वो जानते हैं कि तन्हाई की जो सुकून होता है वो अलग होता है. And like no matter how famous we are, we know that as people the persona is not what is like real. Like this conversation that we're having is kind of who we are, and that's not who we are with other people. So when we have the understanding of the essence of our personalities, we kind of tend to keep that a secret, and we tend to have a persona that is completely fabricated to fit the situation. And the problem is, if you become famous, you lose the ability to become your true self. You're needed to be somebody, right? And I think we've always despised that. I think हम जितने भी हरामी हैं, हम बहुत गौर करते हैं हमारे अपने आप को. So the ability to be ourselves is something that, and our freedom is something that we would definitely fight for. And I agree with you. Like, I don't think I would. If we ever pitch something, right, it would be something like this. It would be completely anonymous. It's just the story. It doesn't relate back to us, and we can't become famous in a way that it affects our real life. वैसे भी हम ऐसे बात कर रहे हैं कि हमारे पीछे तो producers पड़ी है, कोई भी नहीं पड़ा है. मगर फिर भी यार जो भी नखरे है वो कोई नहीं उठा सकता है.
बिल्कुल यार, ये तो कोई सी मुझे भी यार पक्की बात पता है कि हमने ना अगर कुछ जैसे कोई किताब लिख ली या कोई हम ना प्रोफेशनली लिखना शुरू कर दें
जी,
या कुछ कोई खास ऐसी ना चीज बनाए और वहाँ ना we like monetize it, you know, I know it would be like very successful, but वाकई में यार जब आप लोग when you're in the limelight, it's always a bad thing, you know, like it's weird how like obsessive people can get with people they look up to.
Yeah.
Like you know Junaid Akram, right?
Of course, yeah.
So like he's not even like
that big, yeah.
Like a celebrity.
Yeah.
You know, like, but he is pretty like popular, you know, like a lot of people watch the show and like follow his material.
Mm-hmm.
I remember even he said like he was in a hotel in Chicago once,
right? And
like, you know, he was coming out of his hotel, and there was a guy who was just like waiting for him like outside, you know, and like came up to him and was like, "Sir, I've been like I'm a huge fan of yours, and like I've been waiting here for you for like 2 days, you know, like to come see you."
2 days.
And he was just kind of creeped out, like, you know, how are people like this desperate to meet like someone they only know through YouTube, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I understand, but I think we've also kind of been against celebrity culture. Like in my life, I've met some famous people, and I've never wanted to take a picture with them. कि एक तो बात यह है कि हमारे इतने नखरे होते हैं कि शायद वो पूछे हमसे कि हम आपके साथ फ़ोटो ले सकती है, मगर फिर भी ये भी सच है कि I've never wanted to prove that, you know, like I know somebody or I'm important. But we've completely trashed celebrity culture because जितने भी बंदे या बंदियाँ हमें ज़िंदगी में मिली है, सब की सब नालायक है यार. कोई रोल मॉडल बनने के या कुछ की भी काबिल नहीं. तो everybody's human, man. Everybody's got, you know, flaws, faults of their own, and मैं तो अपने आप की faults में गुम जाना हम तो खुश हैं. But yeah, man. So I think हमारे सोच तो काफ़ी अलग है, मगर फिर भी ज़माने तो भी आज समझे तो होंगे कि जिस तरह की सेलिब्रिटीज़ को हम अडोर करती हो वो भी यार. और बात तो ये कि जो सेलिब्रिटीज़ है और जो लोगों की रोल मॉडल्स है वो काफ़ी नालायक है यार. जिस तरह की हरकतें होते हैं उसकी, like nobody should look up to these people. they don't set good examples, you know, like मैं खुद को भी उतना वैसे कामयाब नहीं सोचती हूँ, मगर हम उससे तो ज़रूर बेहतर है भाई।
वो तो बिल्कुल यार, कोई शक नहीं। और यार कोई कोई बंदे भी बड़े चूतिए होते हैं जो सेलिब्रिटीज होने के बावजूद भी ना वैसे बहुत हरामी होता है।
जी जी
जैसे मैं कोई नाम नहीं लेना चाहूंगा यार मैं, लेकिन आप सोच सकते हो कि काफी ऐसे होते हैं जो क्योंकि उनके जैसे ना रिश्तेदार या उनकी पूरी फैमिली फिल्म बिजनेस में है, तो वो आराम से एक्टर बन गए और वाकई में उनको कोई एक्टिंग आती नहीं है और आता कुछ है नहीं। तो लेकिन यार एक मैंने एक ट्रेलर देखा था रिसेंटली ना, तो आपने ये वाली फिल्म का नाम सुना है, एनिमल?
जी जी।
तो वो यार मुझे काफी जबरदस्त लग रही है दिखने में। ऐसा लग रहा है कि वाकई में इन्होंने कुछ सोच समझ के कोई फिल्म बनाई है। वो क्या गाने का नाम क्या है? जबल जबल जबल
यार I don't know why, मगर यार इतने हमारे दरमियान इतने दूरियां होने की बावजूद भी हमारी सोच एक ही है, और पता नहीं क्यों यार। और जो भी आज ज़माने में हो रहा है ना, हम I said this in I think the last episode, हम सिर्फ haters है भाई। हम किसी की भी कुछ अच्छी बात नहीं कहते, सिर्फ हेटिंग करते हैं। और बात तो सच है यार कि मतलब आप अब ज़रा देख लो कि एनिमल या उसकी जो बंदा जो फिल्म की है, वैसे मैंने देखा नहीं, तो ये तो आप सोचते ही होंगे देखा नहीं, मगर उसी बंदे ने तो कबीर सिंह भी की। और यार बंदे को ना एक तो बात ये है कि वो ठीक नहीं है जहन में, दूसरी तो बात ये है कि ज़माने ने क्यों इसको ये मौका दिलवा दी कि ऐसा फिल्म ही बनाए, मुझे समझ ही नहीं आ रहा है यार। और ये भी बंदे तो वो देखते हैं, और मैंने काफ़ी कहानियाँ भी सुनी कि बंदे जो थिएटर से निकले वो तो इसी एटीट्यूड लेके निकले कि हम ऐसी ज़िंदगी में होंगे अभी। और यार ये क्या चल रहा है, मगर हम तो उतने लायक भी नहीं, हम खुद कहते हैं कि हम नालायक हैं, मगर उतना भी नहीं भाई कि एक लड़की की इज़्ज़त करने तो हम जानते हैं, जिस तरह मोहब्बत करने हम जानते हैं, जिस ताल्लुक़ रखने हम जानते हैं। और बात यह है कि जो बंदे के साथ बंदियां है वो थिएटर से निकल रहे हैं, और हम जो ये सब जानते हैं, हम तो तन्हा बैठा है। और ये यार ज़िंदगी की खेल है
यार। कोई इसमें मुझे भी ये लगता है यार, क्योंकि हमें नालायक होने की कोई वजह नहीं चाहिए। हम फिल्म बगैर देखे इतने नालायक हैं कि फिल्म देखने के बाद न जाने क्या हाल हो जाए हमारा।
जी वाकई मैं तो डरता हूँ उससे, इसलिए नहीं देखता। मगर यार बात तो यार आप जैसे कहा ना, जो भी बंदे से मिले, मुझे पता नहीं यार, हम काफ़ी अरसे से सिर्फ चूतियों से मिल रहे हैं, और मुझे पता नहीं कि like I know you've heard this, if you keep meeting assholes perhaps you are the asshole, yeah? And पता नहीं कि अब क्या हो रहा है, शायद ये सही है
या ऐसा हुआ है मेरे साथ भी ना कि आप आज और कल सबका आपको पता नहीं चलता, क्योंकि एक दिन आपके सारे गांडू भरे होते हैं।
जी। और मुझे काफ़ी अरसे से कोई भी अच्छा बंदा या बंदिया तो एक मिली है, मगर बंदा तो यार एक भी अच्छे नहीं मिला काफ़ी साल से।
क्यों यार, आप तो इतने बंदों से मिलते रहते हैं
यार। सब चूतिए मिलते तो है बेशुमार, सब चूतिए
यार नहीं, ये तो अब मेरा भी ऐसा ही तजुर्बा रहा है कि बंदे अक्सर चूतिए होते हैं वैसे।
जी वाकई हम भी हैं, मगर हम तो यहाँ हमारी शो है तो हम जो भी चाहे कह सकते हैं।
और हमारी बात और है यार।
जी, हम अलग किस्म की चूतिया है, ये कंफ्यूज नहीं करो।
हम यार थोड़े, हमारा लेवल और है।
हाँ हाँ, हम काफी कामयाब चूतिया है बाकी।
नहीं। Oh bro।
यार सिर्फ मजा ही मजा चल रहा है यार। कोई मकसद ही नहीं, कोई भी सुन रहा है तो मुझे पता नहीं कि क्यों सुन रहा है।
नहीं नहीं यार, हम बस मौज मस्ती वाले बंदे हैं।
जी जी
हमें किसी चीज की परवाह नहीं है, बस हम खेल मारने में बिलीव करते हैं।
जी जी, मैं तो आपकी भाभी से भी कहा था कि आवाज़ दे दीजिए हमें, अच्छा लगेगा आपको, सिर्फ इतना बात है। और oh, by the way, I wanted to tell you this because you know back when we were like younger, we even though like we were in the team and we were like हम तो थे nerds मगर jocks भी थे। मगर एक ज़माने थे जब हम बॉडी नहीं बना सकते थे कि हम उस उम्र की नहीं थे। So even when we looked like potatoes, yeah, we were getting women, man. And I think the reason was like we were funny, we had decent personalities. Actually, we have a lot of personalities, काफ़ी ज़्यादा बढ़िया भी। मगर I think like the fact that we were funny back then, because we couldn't do anything else. वैसे पैसा नहीं था, body नहीं था, we didn't look, we looked cute, but we didn't look good looking, you know? Like, our competition was always dudes like who were on TV and they were like 18, so there's no way we could compete with like Zac Efron or like Ian Somerhalder. But even then, we did quite decently because we were funny. और मुझे यार जितनी भी तरक्की की हमने ना, और मैं सिर्फ अपने बात कर रहा हूँ कि मैंने कितने भी कोशिश की या कितने बदली, कोई फ़र्क नहीं पड़ा कि जो भी आपको आपकी भाभी को हम में अच्छे लगते हैं वो यही बात है कि आई एम काइंड ऑफ फनी। तो कोई मकसद ही नहीं हमारी ज़िंदगी की यार, बड़ी अजीब है।
नहीं नहीं यार, ऐसा ना कहे, क्योंकि उसके और फायदे हैं जो आपने आदतें बनाई हैं उनके यार, अगर सेहत के हवाले से देखें तो बहुत फायदे हैं। और उसके अलावा आपके जो क्या कहते हैं, बंदा जब एक्टिव रहे तो उसके अपने मुफादात होते हैं।
जी जी जी।
तो नहीं, फिर भी अच्छा है यार। और माशाल्लाह भी आप कोई भी बंदी लपेट सकते हो।
हाँ, सिर्फ जिसे चाहते हैं उसे नहीं। जी, बाकी सब बहुत मस्ती चल रहा है।
नहीं यार, ये तौबा करे, मतलब मेरी बातें यार ये सचा करती होगी काफी कुछ।
नहीं यार, तो बात तो सच है कि वैसे लाइक आई नो यू नो दिस इज वो कि आवर कंपटीशन इज काफ़ी इजी मैन। लाइक मुझे हमेशा लगता है, मैं आपका भाभी से भी ये कहता हूँ कि यार अगर आप शादी करेंगे ना सिर्फ मुझसे करेंगे, कि मुझे पता है कि बाकी बंदों की हालात क्या है। सही, सबकी सब नालायक है, हमारे सब बगैरत है यार, और हम भी हैं मगर उतना भी नहीं। तो हमारे कंपटीशन ना कभी दूसरे बंदे नहीं थे, हम सिर्फ वो बंदिया की सुकून से compete कर रहे हैं। जो उसकी अभी की खुशी है ना, हम सिर्फ उससे compete कर रहे हैं। एंड दैट इज़ वेरी हार्ड टू compete with, कि जो इंसान खुद ब खुद खुश रहने तो सीखा है, उसको कन्विंस करने बड़ी मुश्किल है यार।
बिल्कुल यार, ये तो कोई शक नहीं। हमारे स्टैंडर्ड्स भी कुछ ऐसे हैं यार कि ना, अभी शुरू में हमें बंदियां भी काफी कमाल की मिली थी कि हमें आदत सी हो गई कि ना क्या अभी हमें you know, we need a bandi who's like really has it all, you know.
जी, काफी like unrealistic नहीं यार, हमारे standards से इतने है कि पता नहीं कि कौन सी लड़की ऐसी है। वैसे पता है मगर दूसरी नहीं पता।
नहीं नहीं, ये तो है यार, चक्कर है।
जी, हमें वैसे भी सब कुछ चाहिए यार। और जब भी मैं लड़कियों से बात करती है, और ज़्यादा नहीं करती है, मुझे क्या फ़र्क पड़ता कौन सी लड़की से बात करनी है हमें। तो जब भी करती है तो सब मुझसे कहते हैं यार ऐसे लड़की तो है ही नहीं। सही। और बात यह है कि यार मैं उसको सुनती अगर मैंने एक शख्स से मिला नहीं होती, मगर मिला, और उसकी बात ना हमारे बर्बादी तो जरूर हुए।
ओ भाई, नहीं यार, ये तो अब बर्बादी नहीं यार, ये तो वो शुरुआत है। अब आपकी कहानी कहानी बन रही है और इंशाल्लाह बनती रहेगी।
खुदा करे इंशाल्लाह। मगर यार हम कहाँ से शुरू की थी, मुझे याद ही नहीं कि हम यहाँ कैसे पहुंचे।
बस पहुंच गए ब्रो। ये तो हमारी
यार हम वो उबर है जिसकी ना कोई रास्ता पता है ना कोई मंजिल है, सिर्फ चलते रहता है।
ऐसा ही है यार, बस
मजा आएगा।
यार आप तो वो फिल्म देखी है अजनबी?
अजनबी, हाँ जी। कहाँ की यादें आ रहे हैं आपकी?
यार उसमें डायलॉग नहीं था कि इत्तेफाक।
यार आपको, यार मैंने तो बताई भी थी हमारे ना यादें भी फजूल है। हमें कोई जरूरत की बात तो याद नहीं होते, मगर जो भी डायलॉग्स है वो पूरे याद होते हैं यार, पता नहीं कहाँ से।
सही है यार। वो क्या कहता है उससे, बॉबी देओल अक्षय कुमार से ना कि लोग अक्सर अपना पासवर्ड कुछ ऐसी चीज पे के बारे में रखते हैं जो उनको याद रहे, जैसे उनके माँ का नाम या उनके बाप का नाम। लेकिन तू तो ऐसा नहीं कर सकता क्योंकि तू तो लावारिस है।
यार आपको क्यों ये सब याद है यार? मुझे तो पता है, मगर मुझे भी याद है, मगर मुझे पता नहीं कि हमें क्यों ये याद है।
क्या सीन था
यार। बड़ी वैसे जो उस जमाने की फिल्में थे काफी अच्छे थे यार। और जो मुझे ना आजकल, मैं तो बड़ी अक्षय कुमार की फैन हूँ कि सब फिल्म जो उसने किए ऐसे फिल्म है कि काफी कोटेबल है और ना कोई मकसद है, सिर्फ मजा आएगा। और मुझे पसंद है यार सब।
मुझे भी यार बहुत वाकई में। और वो परेश रावल और सुनील शेट्टी जो टीम उनकी जो जोड़ी थी ना,
हेरा फेरी और ये सब अच्छे फिल्म है यार।
बहुत कमाल यार। क्योंकि अक्षय कुमार ने अक्सर जो फिल्में की है ना अच्छी हैं, कोई मतलब बहुत घटिया फिल्में भी की है बंदे ने।
काफी की है,
काफी ज्यादा, पर काफी सारी अच्छी भी की है जो ना, जिनको देख के मतलब बंदा, इट्स लाइक दैट वाज एंटरटेनिंग, यू नो, लाइक मुझसे शादी करोगी ब्रो।
यार मुझसे शादी करोगी, उसमें यार जितने भी भाई की फिल्म है ना मुझे पूरे याद है, मगर मेरे फेवरेट तो अक्षय कुमार वाले यही है, मुझसे शादी करोगी। काफी यार बेमकसद फिल्म है, मगर फिर भी अच्छे लगता है।
नहीं, बहुत कमाल लगी थी यार। मतलब मकसद तो बिल्कुल नहीं था, उससे पैर भी नहीं था उससे। जी। But it was like so realistic because the premise was that Salman Khan is this guy who has anger issues. So basically he's just playing himself, you know?
जी। वैसे हर फिल्म में वो अपने आप ही है यार। हर फिल्म में भाई है, कोई एक्टिंग नहीं होने उससे, वो सिर्फ स्टार है।
पर वाकई में यार, it was such a well done movie.
जी।
Man, I think it was shot in Mauritius, you know, like they said it was Goa, but
it looks like Goa, but I think Mauritius. Yeah, Goa is not that good looking, buddy.
I was gonna say, man, like that like landscape looked very familiar, and dude, you're not gonna believe this, man. Like,
Yeah.
I've never told anyone about this, even though like I had some pictures of the place. Like, I don't know if I still do, but I went to this place in Mauritius, right? And you remember Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, right?
जी जी.
और आपको स्कूल याद है ना उस फिल्म में जहाँ पूरी वो आधी शूटिंग जहाँ जिस स्कूल में हुई थी.
Yeah.
So the school is in Mauritius.
No way.
And yeah, that's why I went to the school, right? Like
Right.
it's in the capital, like Port Louis.
Right.
And yeah, man, we drove through it and stuff, like to see the place where it was shot. And yeah, man, I saw the whole thing from like the movie. Like it was honestly surreal, dude. Like when you see it off screen,
Yeah.
and you're like, this is where they shot like the whole half the movie, you know?
Dude, that is wonderful. Like, it looks so good in the movie, but like, I'm sure it looks much, much, much more beautiful in real life.
It is really nice, man, for sure. I mean, anywhere in Mauritius, honestly, is so scenic. Like, there's just green space everywhere, and it does get a little too hot in like the peak months.
Right.
But if you go there at the right time, like even the weather is so temperate and like rainy, and it's really like it looks like paradise, man. Honestly.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure. And like, वैसे I've like started to like cold the climate more. I'm not sure why, but like Mauritius is definitely one of the most beautiful places there could be. And like मुझे ये भी चाहता है कि, oh, by the way, like I think one of the very few things I want in life, yeah, right now, and I hope this stays, is just to live like on a huge farm, far away from everybody else, right? Have my own like sources of like energy, power, you know, like food and all that, like for it to be self-sustainable, and to have like a small crew of people who like live there, farm there, and do the things that I am, you know, way too unbothered to do. And that is like what I'd love to have, you know, like I'd like to live in a place like that, completely dissociated from society and be completely independent. And I don't know how weird this is, but that is, and in a cold climate preferably, like that would be perfect, man. Like I don't want to be reachable and I don't want to be found.
Honestly, man, I would love to live like that.
Yeah.
Just because it reminds me of. Do you remember Brad Pitt in The Big Short?
Yeah, dude, my God. Like, every reference we make, I think we should stop asking if we remember. I think we know all the references. But, yeah, definitely.
Oh, dude, that's dope.
By the way, I know you studied economics and, like, The Big Short. And there's this 2010 documentary called The Inside Job. That's not my two favorite documentaries on economics, man. But go ahead.
Oh, dude, I fucking love The Inside Job, man.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of that movie yesterday. Like, I mean, that documentary, sorry.
Yeah.
But, yeah, those are both fucking classics, man. Like, if you're a finance nerd, then those two are, like, the two that come to mind.
Yeah.
But I love that what the dream life you described is exactly what Brad Pitt lives in, like, the movie.
Exactly.
Because he just like he's convinced that everything's going to, like, society's just going to collapse, you know, and then he just starts living out on the farm with his like own like food sources, you know,
Yeah.
where he's just prepared to live out there like forever if he needs to. And yeah, man, it would definitely be one way to live, you know, like just you're at ease, you're like, you don't have to worry about anything, you know, truly just living in the moment.
Exactly. I would love it, and to be honest, man, I think a lot of people will be bothered but like not having connections or not meeting anybody new. But I think the moment I go silent, right, I would never want to speak again. and I think I would be I would be at peace. I don't know. I think so.
I would be, man. I think I would, because like it would just be such a refreshing change to like be able to unplug from everything, you know?
GG. And I've met enough people in my life to know, there's nothing out there. तो better है
Oh,
मिलते
for
ही
sure,
नहीं.
man.
Yeah.
For sure, man. I would know that I'm not. I wouldn't feel like I'm missing out on anything, you know, like because I've kind of seen what's out there, and like I don't think I'm missing out at all.
Exactly, man. But it's a wonderful. It's one of the very few dreams I have now. देखते हैं कि होते भी नहीं.
मैं भी यार बस उम्मीद कर सकता हूँ मतलब you know, even in Canada, like the only thing is that, man, like here I wouldn't mind living out here as like you know, just exploring and like traveling the country, because it's so big that like you could honestly spend like a whole year just like traveling the country. And it's like I like the weather enough that, you know, it's like I like the climate that it's like on the colder side, so you can still do things most of the year.
Yeah.
But yeah, the thing is like it's so expensive here that I don't think I'd be able to do it if I wasn't like working full time, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of people to live this dream life, they go to like Thailand or like you know, Colombia. You must have seen like a lot of white people go out there, right?
Yeah.
Like and they'll because obviously their money goes a long way there, and with like the exchange rate.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it would be tough to do in like a colder place, but there are definitely like warmer places in the world where you could where it would be easy to do.
Yeah, but like to be honest, if I had, you know, an entire lifetime and like all the world to travel, the last place I would want to go to is Thailand, man. Like
I feel you. I feel you, man.
You know what I mean? Like there's no ounce of respect that I have for the place, because like the reason people go there, right? Which we don't have to talk about, people will understand. That's not something we've ever been fans of, right? And I know you know this, there's a line from The Departed where Jack Nicholson walks in on Matt Damon in an adult theatre, and he says something to him. And that is exactly how I feel about all of that. And the like PG version, because the Departed actually has a PG version, which is weird. I think it's for TV. But he says to him, you know, maybe it's because it's so easy for me to get women that I've never understood jacking off in a theatre, right? And that is exactly, like, that's a PG version, by the way. But that's exactly how I felt all my life. और ये भी कोई दलील नहीं कि हमें लड़की भी नहीं मिलता है, सही? मगर like Thailand and everything is famous for. Even the weather I'm not a fan of, right? But I get what you mean. Like if you want to go to a cheaper place and spend your money there, it is much easier. But also our generation has gone to a point where we have to work to be alive. There is, like, if I stop working today, I would have to die by tomorrow, you know? Like there is no way for us to be able to not work and provide. Like it's become a dream for our generation to own a house or to own anything. Everything is rented, and the rent is due every month, and it's like, I'm sure of this, right? और यार मुझे वैसे भी काफ़ी डर लगता है अपने आप से. I've said this before, I do kind of fear a microphone. And what I mean by that is the way I speak, and again, I apologize for being pompous, but the way I speak and the kind of way that I rile people up, I feel like I would start a revolution just if I had a microphone in like half an hour, right? But someday our generation is going to be so pissed that we're going to start a revolution. I'm sure of this. Like the way that we have to live our lives, the way it's enforced upon us, And the way that there is no justice, like our parents' lives are a dream for us. Like the way they live the worst times of their lives is what we will call the best times. And it's not fair. Like it's not fair to anybody, and it doesn't need to be this way. If you look at like real estate prices, home prices, you've studied economics, you know this is all just made up bullshit. Yeah, like there's a bunch of people playing in the market. And I know this is true with everything. You look at watch prices, home prices, car prices, everything is just a cartel, right? And it's the people who are running the cartel who are telling us that you do not have the ability to live a life where you're secure. And the day is going to come, man, when one of two things is going to happen. Either all of this is going to come crashing down. And I thought that would be what would happen. But the beautiful thing is the guys in power have managed to do this in a way that it never comes crashing down. If you look at the crypto crash, sure it crashed, but it didn't crash the whole economy. And that's what people are doing now. Like the way it is, everything's getting bailed out so that it just keeps moving forward. We keep pushing the issue for tomorrow. And what is going to happen is we're going to loan so much from the future that the present are paying off loans that they did not take. And what is going to happen is our generation is going to rise up and stand up against this. And I hope for one of two things. Either that I'm not part of the poor, right? Khuda kare ki hum bhi wo. I hope I'm not part of the crowd that's protesting. And the second thing that might happen is that I become the man with half the mustache, right? I lead a revolution that maybe goes down as one of the worst things that ever happened. Because if I'm leading it, sure, the cause might be, something that is very genuine, but I'm not a good person, so I'm going to burn them all to the ground.
Man, this is a perfect analysis of what we've gone through as a generation. And man, I've kind of just like resigned myself to it, like at least for the near term, I'm like, man, there's no, we just have like no alternative, unfortunately, But I do look at some places like in Europe where I'm like, I'm surprised that even people who are like rent their whole lives, like they're still able to, live comfortably.
Yeah. Eastern Europe.
And what was that?
Eastern Europe?
I was thinking like France, but honestly a lot of Europe, for them, like home ownership, the majority of people, they just rent their whole lives.
Yeah, true.
But the thing is, their governments have really taken control of things like...
it's a social state. They'll take care of it.
Yeah. And I don't know, their governments look out for their people, they've made it so that there's rent control policies, so you can't really raise your rent more than, a certain amount.
Yeah.
It's like when you look at the kind of policies they have, it's like they've really taken care of their people's interests.
Yeah.
And I think in the absence of a government like that, it's like, it's really hard to imagine any kind of hope for our generation.
Yeah, but you know what that is? Like, even a social state and everything that you've described, it's just a carrot in front of the horse, right? It's just keeping the populace moving and keeping them away from a revolution. That's it. It's just, they're just giving us enough so that we don't rise up. And
yeah, that's true.
And and to be honest, like, most people are dumb. It's not like we're the smartest people ever, but most people will never figure it out, will never figure that it doesn't have to be this way. Like, what is a government, man? It's a bunch of people that most of us didn't even elect, yeah? So the day we figure out, I'm not saying there's a better solution. I'm not saying, that I will do better. I just want to burn this to the ground, hum sirf wo jate bhai. I just want to cause chaos, and somebody else will come in and finish the rest. But I mean, we've studied all this, yeah, and this is the stupid part of this, because every single kid who's gone to any school anywhere in the world has learned about the French Revolution. right? And this is pretty much the same shit. And we haven't learned a thing, man. Like, I don't know why, but if you look at what's happening now, and वैसे like ज़माने तो काफ़ी अजीब है कि NFTs, crypto, all of that is just weird, yeah? Like, that's just plain stupidity. But if you watch,
yeah, for sure.
if you watch like The Big Short or The Inside Job, you know how these things are being controlled, how the world is run, and once you figure that out, you have only two choices. You've either got to become part of the problem, or you've got to kind of bring everything together so that the problem doesn't have any power. And neither of these things are happening. And it was fine in like the previous generations, the years before us. It was fine because people were being given enough so that they led comfortable lives. And it's kind of our fault for overpopulating the world. Not our fault, like the people before us. हम तो किसकी बाप है? मगर it's come to a point where there isn't enough for everybody, and it doesn't have to be that way either. Like, all of us can live in comfort. Like, I'm not a socialist. I do not believe in communism. I think it's all bullshit. But I also don't believe in anything. But
I feel like that, man.
Yeah.
I've come to the same like
conclusion,
the same
yeah?
that, you know, it's like any kind of ism that's been tried, I think has like, you know, never really like worked out. What we would need in practice is like a system that combines the best of all systems that have been tried. I think that's like a very like logical way to go about it.
That is true.
Like where, you know, there are elements of like socialism where I think it, like, you know, is in people's interest for government to take care of certain things.
Yeah, like the social state is like partially derived from socialism, and I think a lot of Western countries, capitalist countries, have adopted that, and that is exactly like in line with what you're saying. It's a very good thing to do.
Yup. Like you could also call it like democratic capitalism, you know, where it's like the government is responsible for like some of these major services.
Yeah.
Where it's like in people's interest for there to be like easy access to it, like, you know, they provide like healthcare, education, a couple of other sectors, like key sectors that are in like the military, for example. You know, it's like you don't necessarily want that to be like privatized.
Absolutely, yeah.
But then like for the most part, the economy is like market based, where, you know, it's the government's not like running hotels or you know, like or airlines and shit. Like it's I think that's like the reasonable model that at least most of the West has shifted to. And like but still, man, sometimes you'll see it like it's a little too free to the point where like one problem you see in the West is like the illusion of choice. Where we think we have choice as consumers because it's like a free market. Yeah. But really the thing is that
everything's
the market, you know. People. Yeah, exactly. It's like monopoly, effective monopolies, you know, like there's only like 3 or 4 major companies in any industry, and it's just like because capitalism there is unchecked, it allows like some companies to become like really big. And then and monopolize the market.
Yeah. I think the perfect example for that is like the antitrust laws that were put in place because of Rockefeller, right? Which is back then, which is a long time ago, but they were put in place to prevent monopolies, and all it's done is kind of create oligopolies, right? Or instead of having one thing controlling everything, you have like 2 or 3 entities that control everything. And the problem is these 2 or 3 entities know that it's easier to just work together so that they all, you know, make money, but it's at the expense of the populace. And like that cannot last too long, man. And also like I'm not a proponent of socialism, and like Soviet Russia and everything that happened there is just as messed up. And the only conclusion I can come to is that humans are not capable to govern themselves to a point where everybody's happy or even the majority is happy. What happens in any kind of situation is that the people who are governing keep getting richer, happier, and everything else, and the other people will never have anything. And listen, like I'm not going to say that that's unfair or that's fine. That's the way of the world. But like the problem is the people who don't have everything. You've got to take care of them so that there is no revolution. And in terms of our beliefs, I think the only belief we hold is that हम सबकी खिलाफ है. Whatever ism you come up with, we are against it. Right? Like I said, like 2 podcasts ago, we're just haters, man. हमारे कोई मकसद नहीं. We want to burn this thing to the ground और उसकी बाद हमें कुछ करना ही नहीं है. हम सिर्फ जलना चाहते हैं. बाकी और कुछ नहीं. बाकी आप संभालो.
नहीं, बिल्कुल ऐसा ही है यार. मतलब हालात कुछ ऐसे है, पर बात आपकी सही है कि क्या कहते हैं कि अशराफिया हर मुल्क में होता है, चाहे वो ना एक वहाँ जमींदारी हो या वो एक क्या कहते हैं
जी, हर मुल्क में एक नवाज शरीफ तो होता है.
नहीं, इसमें तो कोई शक नहीं है, क्योंकि सबसे आज़ाद से आज़ाद मुल्क में भी आपको एक अशराफिया नजर आएगी, चाहे उसका अशराफिया के नाम से ना जानी जाए, पर ऐसा तो है यार बिल्कुल. Any system that's like where there's like profit to be made and power to be gained, it's going to be gained by like some party,
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man, I mean, me, like Canada, I like overall like the balance of freedoms they have here.
Yeah.
But then there are some things where I'm like, I still feel like it's a little too like they kind of left all of it to market forces to the point where it's making like life unaffordable here,
Yeah.
Like especially with something like real estate, like you want it to be more like more regulated.
Yeah.
Because I think in anyone's life, that's like the biggest expense is like your rent or like mortgage or like housing in general,
Yeah.
And they've kind of just made it so that housing has become like an investment, where a lot of like the bigger companies, like housing companies, they invest in real estate the way that you and I would invest in stocks,
Exactly.
And that just obviously pushes prices of rents like so high.
Yeah.
And the same with groceries. Like it's a very like they're oligopolies, like you said. So there's only a few big like grocery store chains.
Yeah.
And as a result, the prices are just like ridiculous. Like it's you definitely see some of the negatives of like free market capitalism, like laissez-faire capitalism.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. But man, there's a few things I want to say. Yeah, like the first thing is a quote on freedom. Yeah, so it says, if you want to see where your freedom ends, look at who you're not allowed to criticize, right?
That's a good one.
Yeah, and the second thing is like if you look at Canada, right? It's one of the biggest countries in the world. And you look at the real estate prices and it makes no sense. Because every real estate investment is exactly that. It's an investment. It's not made by anybody to provide affordable housing. It's made so that they can make money off it. And it's gotten to a point, and you've seen this in like, I think The Big Short, where it's all index funds and people are combining real estate to make a fund which you can invest into, and everything is being financed and insurance is going on in such a way that it's by the time the consumer no longer matters. Like the person who the house is for is not in any way part of this equation. It's the banks and it's the investors who are making money off it. And again, it's laissez-faire capitalism, like you said. Like, it's fair. Like, they're not against any rules. But the problem is, when you look at a country that big and you look at all the houses that are coming in and how it's unaffordable for everybody, the obvious question is, why are we not building houses in the places that nobody wants to invest in, right? Nobody's going to do that because that doesn't make money. So then what do you end up with? You end up with where we were back in the 60s, where people were building their own homes. Like, you know, in the United States, they had like these kits that are like home kits. You can just build your own house and it's not that hard. Like, humans have gone far from being self-sufficient, but the day that things become too expensive is the day that we figure out we can do this shit on our own. And that is going to come, man. There is no way that we're going anywhere. Like, banks can do whatever they want to, insurance companies can do whatever they want to, but like the human right to survival, to happiness, is something that is inalienable from any human being. And the day is going to come, man, and it's not too far when people figure out...
8045.
Apologies.
45. But no, man, I agree. Like, thank you. I agree, man, because like I really think that needs to come back, because at current rates, you know, it just makes no sense. Like how prices have like outpaced income, they've outpaced like every other metric of wealth. You know, just because it's essentially become a place for investors to park their funds.
Yeah. And man, I don't want to stop short of starting a revolution, so I'm just going to put this out there as well. Like, it's the boomers, man. The guys who are doing this, the guys who are getting rich, are the older generation who had an easy life, who had homes that they could buy. And they're doing this at our expense, right? Which is not fair. And the other thing is, we are the kids who put in all the effort, right? I'm being honest with you. I apologize for how pompous I sound, but we're like the smartest kids that have come out of our year, of our time, right? And I know people who I met, like my cousin last week, who is like one of the top 100 people, 500 people from our year in a country of 1 billion, right? और वो भी like struggle कर रहा है. So we were the kids who were promised a good future if we worked hard. And we worked hard, right? और आप चाहे तो हमें बेवकूफ़ बुला लो, मगर फिर भी बेवकूफ़ के अपने rights होते हैं. And what's happened to us is not fair. And if you think of our situation being this bad, और हम जैसे हमने कहा था हम तो वारिस हैं, say हम इकलौता वारिस हैं. We are very well off and we're gifted with easy lives. Yeah, think of how bad the rest of us have it. And if this is the situation for everybody who's in our generation, the boomers, man, they have it coming, right? I don't know how far away this is, but there's definitely going to be a revolution coming where people are tired of all this shit, and we outnumber these people. They're old. Like, ye karenge kya? So there's definitely, we've got to step. I think we keep thinking of ourselves as like the young kids, but now we've got to a point where we are the ones who are in charge, man. Like, you can't take power away from us, and the generation after us, वो तो नालायक है, वो तो सिर्फ TikTok देखता है. So it's up to us to like kind of put the balance in place, and I think there's a political future that you're looking at that I myself am very scared of here.
Because it's generational, you know. I realize here back then, like any dog work, like wasn't the like to be working I save up enough money for like a house, and they just had more opportunities to like build wealth, you know, through home ownership back then.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like something that most young people I know, they've just kind of given up on, you know, that like the idea of ever owning a home.
Owning a house, yeah. And it's not realistic.
Yeah, man. I've honestly, It's not. And I made peace with it too, just because I know that, I'm probably a bit of an exception in this case, just because I know I'm never going to be in one place long enough to want to own a home there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just, but like for once, that might change. I think I'm gonna be here, like in the Greater Toronto area for a while, just because I can't really see myself living anywhere else for the near future.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's so unaffordable, dude. Like, that's the only thing. Is like, at least it makes you think. At least if you're saving money for a home, like, it's like an asset that you'll eventually own.
Yeah.
Whereas with rent, it's kind of like you can often feel like you're just throwing money away,
Exactly, man. Like, none of this makes any sense, and I don't know. Like I said, we're not the right people who are struggling. Like, we're not the people who are struggling the most with this. But if you can imagine the kind of future that is set out for people our age, like, there is no reason to even be alive, man. So it's not fair. Like, one of the few things, like, हम तो कप्तान की बंदे हैं, मगर फिर भी one of the things that gets me the angriest is बेइंसाफी. And this is one of the most horrible things you could do, not to a person but to a generation, and it's wrong.
Definitely, man. And it's our generation got cheated,
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's unfortunate, like, even now, like, I see people in their 30s who are like, they're living with like tons of roommates because, like, it's just, it's just too expensive for them to live.
Yeah.
Out.
Yeah.
Australia as well, man. Australia and Canada both have like a full housing crisis.
Exactly. And think of how big these places are. They're not even like occupied. Like everything's in the GTA, and like the Canada's like 5-6 places which has homes and cities, and like the same as Australia, you have like 7-8 places. There's a bunch of country left where you can easily develop things. Nobody does that because it's not in the favor of the dudes who want to make money.
That's exactly it, man. It's like, more housing, and that's how they lose money. That's how the property values go down.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right, man. Like, those are like the shots of the country, class, like, they call the shots, to ball.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, it's just like, I'm trying to just fall up and like at least and it's I'm the revolution already.
Yeah.
If anything was happening like France, you can imagine they would throw a rocket.
Yeah, dude, France is like the birthplace of revolution because of like how the populace is always ready to protest, and I like that about France. But just again, apologies for cutting you off, but we're like at the 1 hour mark, and if it's alright with you, I'd like to call this one the revolution. And again, I don't know why I went off on a rant, but it keeps happening. But this has been the Karshan FS show, and again, apologies for wasting all your time.